teaching kids to become podcasters. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from a company called Pinna is Pinna, is Senior Director of Development and Children's Programming, Amy Kraft. Hi, Amy.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, give us an overview, first of all, of what Pinna is all about.
Sure. Pinna is an audio streaming service for kids 3 to 12, where we have podcasts, audiobooks, and music all in one safe space for kids. And at Pinna, in addition to bringing together the best audio of what's already out in the world, we also make a bunch of Pinna originals. So we're at about 60 podcasts or so and counting, and dozens of audiobooks as well.
Tell us a little bit more about the variety of what you have on there for kids, because from what I see, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about all the different things that a podcast can be. So we have some conversational shows like you might expect, like thinking about the adult space, but we think about what's the kid version of it. So we have kids talking about things like Minecraft and Pokemon in our totally unauthorized fan shows. We also have a news show with Time for Kids Explains. And then we have like some other formats of shows, so like scripted fiction shows, comedies, mysteries, adventure, fantasy. We have a lot of game shows, which I'm quite particularly a fan of, and like things like trivia. We even have shows where you can do things along with the podcast. So for instance, we have a show, Anytime Art, where you can make art projects along with an art teacher. So we keep really pushing the envelope of all the things that a podcast can be.
And now you've launched something called PodcastersU, a 7-episode series aimed at young people. Give us the overview of what you're doing there.
Well, we love kids to get involved in podcasting. For instance, with some of the shows that we make use real kids as part of the show, like the fan shows that I mentioned. And it's so fun working with real kids. And we were also thinking about how to engage our Pinna super fans, like the kids who are really invested in podcasts. And so we launched PodcastersU as a way of teaching kids how to be podcasters themselves.
Give us an idea of what the kids are going to be learning here. I mean, this is just getting started.
Yes, exactly. So we've launched the first episode, which is how to make a podcast. And that really walks you through all the basics. Like you need to script or outline what you're doing. Here's how to think about recording. Here's how to think about audio editing. And then tips like things of like getting guests for your podcast. Like that first episode really lays the groundwork for just everything to do to make any podcast. Then starting June 6th, every week, we're going to roll out 6 more episodes that really focus on a different kind of podcast. So again, like we were talking about all the different podcasts that Pinna has. We highlight those for kids to think about, like how to make an interview show, like the one that you're making right now, how to do an informational podcast where you really want to convey a lot of information to your listeners, how to make a game show, how to do scripted fiction, as well as how to think about creating characters, sound design, and music for your show. So each week we kind of like focus on a different specific aspect of podcasting.
And it doesn't have to be a big investment that costs a lot of money for kids either, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, if they're able to listen to Pinna, they have a device in hand that they can make a podcast on. Like if they've got a smartphone, you can make a podcast as easily as using a voice memo application on your phone. We also talk about free resources, low cost resources, because we really want to make it accessible to all kids.
And you work with some teachers as well on the site?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting with teachers is we're hearing from a lot of classrooms that not only are they making podcasts just as an art form, as like a cool thing to make, teachers, really innovative teachers, are using podcasts as a way for kids to show what they've learned. So instead of doing a report or a PowerPoint, kids can make a podcast to talk about, the rainforest or the book that they read. It's really an interesting way to assess what kids have learned.
What can you tell us about the background here of Pinna? How did this come about?
So there was actually a team at Panoply Media, which was working in the adult space, who thought, I think there's something to this podcast for kids. And that team sort of spun Pinna out as its own company under the Graham Holdings umbrella. And we have been focused on kids ever since. So we launched in January 2019, focusing only on kids, and we're kids up through 12 now. And it's really great to be able to focus only on kids, because a lot of people are working on kids podcasts, but as part of a broader range of what they're doing for adults too. So by being focused only on kids, we can bring in experts who really love this space.
Well, as the Senior Director of Development and Children's Programming, what attracted you to this space?
Well, I've worked, like in my whole career, I've worked across a number of different media. Like I came up through interactive and game design. And what attracts me is that like it's attracting everybody from different spaces. So novelists are coming to this space, TV people are coming to this space. And by doing that, everyone is innovating in the space in different ways. And it's a super fun way. I've always done well, like I say, designing in a box. So the idea that all kids have is the audio, and like you don't get visuals to help explain anything. I love the challenge of that and sort of showcasing all the different things that audio can be.
Tell us about the importance of this. We all know how attracted kids are to screens and the visual medium today, and how much time they typically spend in front of screens. Why is this important?
Well, I think Pinna is great as a screen-free alternative, but we're not anti-screen at Pinna. Like we see it all as valuable things that kids can do with their time. So even for instance, we really celebrate Minecraft with our Minecraft show, but I think it's also important to get kids to be makers of the things that they consume too. So like I always loved it when game maker kids go make games in something like Roblox. The idea that on Pinna, they can make podcasts that they can hear back on Pinna. This is a whole generation of kids that know that they can do anything in media. They can be their own creator. And we really have found that kids love listening to other kids. And so let's let their voices be heard.
So what should kids and parents know about getting involved here? How to go about doing this?
Sure. So we are making all of PodcastersU available for free. So anyone can come to Pinna, listen for free. And you can also hear a sampling of all of our Pinna originals for free as well, too. And then to subscribe, we have a couple different plans. So for instance, it's $7.99 a month billed monthly or $5.99 a month billed annually, which gets you access to our full catalog, not only of Pinna originals, but of tons of podcast audiobooks and albums.
Terrific. And the website for more info?
Pinna.fm.
Pinna, Pinna.fm.
And then for PodcastersU specifically, go to pinna.fm/podcastersu. That's podcasters plus the letter U. There too, you'll find a ton of information to support the PodcastersU podcast. Things like season outlines, tutorials, glossary, like everything that you're going to need to make your podcast happen.
Terrific. Pinna.fm. Amy Kraft, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thanks so much for having me.